there.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here. It's Wednesday.
It is.
It's 2:00.
And that means it's time for If These Walls Could Talk
With Tim Moss.
and the fabulous Wendy Stuart.
Oh, it's so great to be here today. You know why? Spring is in the air. You can.
Oh God, yes.
You can just smell it, right? I went to Central Park on Sunday, and the daffodils' little heads were peering up from the ground. I know, and the crocuses and the birds and everything. So, my gosh, here we are. We're like in the middle of March, and it's St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, happy St. Patrick's. I forgot to wear green. Happy St. Patty's.
Why do they say Erin Go Bra? What does that mean? I don't. That's like a Celtic. I always used to say Celtic.
Erin Go Bra.
Erin Go Bra. It's a saying, and maybe whoever is watching can kind of put that in the comments. Tell me what it means. But it's St. Patrick's Day. We're not drunk yet. There's no parade this year.
Well, there was a little parade. They did.
Parade.
I think right before the sun came up, they had a little one that was socially distanced and all of that.
Wait,
I saw it in the news
before the sun came up.
Yeah, it was real early in the day.
There are no Irish people up before the sun came up. Come on. Oh my God.
That's probably why nobody knew about it.
There you go. So did you happen to watch the Grammys this week?
Yes, I did. Actually, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
I was surprised.
It had a range to it. I mean, there were things that were not my cup of tea. Women were somewhat depicted in a way that I don't want to see women depicted twerking unless they can show me guy bands where guys are wearing Speedos and twerking. Honey, it wasn't equal.
Honey, if I could twerk, I would. I would twerk for you. But I did. I like the range of it, and I'm really excited about this new generation coming up.
Oh yeah,
because I think they're going to tap into their individuality. Yeah. And I think we're going to see a lot of creativity coming up. I'm hoping so. Creativity,
and I have to tell you, not for nothing, if there was a positive side to face coverings, they were so coordinated. Yeah. Taylor Swift with like embroidered flowers all over her face with a coordinated matching dress. I was like, oh, come on, girl. Oh, anyway, speaking of the Grammys, we have a fabulous guest today. Yay. I told him I would be very modest about his introduction.
Yes.
But he is an entertainment virtuoso. I love that phrase. He has signed artists like ABBA. He's produced. He has worked with epic stars like Tina Turner, John Denver, Marvin Gaye, music publisher, licensor. I mean,
manager,
manager, and
events,
just an unbelievable person. So, but he's humble as apple pie. So there you go.
Even though he is the greatest, we're not supposed to tell you that.
Shh, don't tell anybody. Without further ado, John Velasco.
Yay, John Velasco.
Hi, good to see you.
Was that low key enough?
Yeah, it was close. That's fine.
How are you doing?
Sorry.
How are you doing?
How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm saying a little chilly here, but apart from that, the sun's actually out, so that's good.
Yeah, and we're all in New York, so we're all experiencing the same kind of weather. You know, when we have music people on from LA, I hate them. Yeah. They're just sitting there in their shorts and t-shirts and, talking about their lockdown. Excuse me, it's 80 degrees, okay?
I get texts and things from my friends with the pictures of them in the pool with a martini, and it's like, I'm really bad for you being locked down.
People know no shame when it comes to this. So, John, if you can,
we've got a lot of ground.
To cover, and I would like to start with, and I'm sure Tim would early on. Let's talk about early on in your career, where it all started.
A long, long time ago, you mean to say?
In a land far, far away.
But basically, it was virtually by accident. I was in the theater to start with.
Right.
And unfortunately got to a really high position in a short time. So I moved into PR and represented a lot of wonderful people. And one day someone called and said, there's a young songwriter coming in from LA. Would you show him around the town? So I did, and we had a lot of fun. And we decided to go into business together with Jimmy Webb.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Well, now, firstly, you're referring to London. Is that where you're from?
Yes, that's right.
You grew up in London.
Started out in the UK.
Okay, so Jimmy Webb from LA came, this songwriter.
Right. And so we had this company, and within the first year, because of his writing, one, I sort of fell in love with the business totally, because I just loved the process of songwriting and the creation of songs. And the first year was amazing because he had hit after hit. So I became a genius and I knew nothing.
Well, it helps if your talent has hit after hit. Really, one could get spoiled easily.
Yeah, but luckily for me, and some people are still like in the business, I got adopted by 2 or 3 wonderful people, and I'd pick up the phone and say, "What do I do now?" And some of the decisions I made were, thank God, all worked out. But I was really guessing. I was, yeah, I'll do that one. But so that's where it all started.
But that's also instinct.
Yeah,
that's good instincts.
But that like I say, that's why I still love today, because it's still writers and the creation of stuff.
You have, as we say, you've really stayed the course in terms of what you've been doing all these years and working in every facet of the business. I was just, when I was introing you, I was talking about the Grammys before we started, and I'm curious about, from your perspective, right? You're in this industry. Did you get to watch the Grammys? What was your?
I watched bits and pieces of it. Some I like, some I don't like. But what I tend to do is I watch the start, then I record the rest of it and watch it.
And then you can zip through the commercials and
just if I someone I don't like, zip onto the next.
Bye. What do you think has changed the most in the music industry in terms of licensing and publishing, and how it's been affected by the internet?
To me, I think the internet in a way has been a great leveler, because Taylor Swift is performing in front of 50,000 people. She can't do it anymore. Right. The person in the bar can't do it anymore. So they all have to be really inventive and get onto the internet and think of things to do to be noticed. That's why people do TikTok and suddenly they've got 50,000. It's silly. And I think this is an opportunity for a lot of young artists to really get through by being creative. Because the process is still the same, but now it's, like I say, it's a level playing field that they can't do hundreds of thousands of people watching them.
Exactly. Everybody's kind of on the same page right now. Yeah.
So monetarily, I'm curious, John, like the heyday, the 80s was like, there was so much money around in this industry. How do you think that's going to compare to now going forward with streaming and everything else?
I think it's different. I mean, before it was, obviously selling records and making money on the records. Now it's just skewed slightly where people are realizing that where the money is in, and it's always been there, is in sync and licensing. And now a lot of people have really spread more into those areas and finding sponsorships. And so it's still there. It'll never be, I don't think, as it was in the heyday record-wise, of course, downloads and things like, the good thing is, for me, vinyls come back. And I think that's really fun, where you can actually have an album and look at it and read the credits. Because it's kind of sad. A lot of kids today, they don't know who produced it, or at least
no,
the editor. And these people were, part of the whole creation. So, I don't find that they know so much about the business.
Yeah. So many of the, especially the younger ones now, they think, like, Beyonce comes out with a song, they think, oh, it's all Beyonce. It's just, they have no idea that there's 5 pages of people involved to create this one song.
Right. And John, you just brought up a good point, because when you see a movie, you've got the credits all scrolling at the end. With things going on the internet and stuff, you're right. You don't know who the people are making the magic behind the scenes.
Right. And say it's really a team. Exactly. On it.
Team. Yeah.
And that, to me, it all comes back to the song. And that's why I love publishing, because everything starts with the song and the creation. And to me, that's the exciting part, watching people create the song, build it out. It's funny. I remember there's some songs I hear on the radio, and I know I put one word in it. I don't know about me, but it's sort of fun to hear it.
So tell us. So I want to hear some of the songs and some of the artists. We love this.
So, I mean, different people. I mean, it's basically Jimmy was obviously the first when we had all those hits from Up and Away to MacArthur Park, etc. And he's still wonderful today, and we're still.
So I didn't know. Okay, here we go. I didn't know that Jimmy Webb was responsible for MacArthur Park. I thought it was Donna Summer.
Oh no, Wichita Lineman.
Richard Harris did the original. Didn't Richard Harris do the original song?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
And he was so much fun. I mean,
yeah.
And everyone told Jimmy it would never be a hit because it was 3-minute songs and Richard couldn't sing. But he performed it incredibly.
I love it. That's such great history. Give us some more songs and people.
Well, I guess one of the fun things was ABBA, because when I first heard the songs, I loved the songs. I loved them. And how they got to fame was through the Eurovision Song Contest. And over here, I don't think too many people know about it.
You know how I know it from? They had a Netflix movie on about it with not Adam Sandler. Who's the other funny guy that he performs? He's from Saturday Night Live. They did a whole thing. They did a spoof on ABBA. I have to tell you, it was so funny. It was about the Eurovision contest and what you go through. And to your point, we don't know about Eurovision here. That's how I first and most recently found out about it. So that was how they got launched.
Yeah, well, it was funny because, as well, no one had got any money back then. Even their manager, Stig Anderson, who I was dealing with, and he was the main publisher. I made a deal with him, and everyone were having before Eurovision. Just quickly, it covers the whole of Europe and Israel, and every city in the towns votes. They watch on the evening and vote for the winning act, the winning country. So we hadn't got the money to bring them in, really. Everyone else were having big receptions. So we just showed a video to the press because we knew we hadn't got a chance to win it because the song was so different. It wasn't anything like the traditional Eurovision. And it was funny on the evening. I was talking to a friend of mine behind me, and he said, "I don't believe you're so far ahead." And I thought he was joking, and I turned around. It was like, "Oh my gosh, we're winning!" and so that was kind of fun. The quickest, like really fast to the top. And then I used to fly out to Sweden all the time, which was fun. And we used to, choose the next single and see what it was a really fun time.
How cool! I love ABBA. What would they like to work with?
They were actually very quiet and very private and nice. I mean, it was just studio work and things. They were just for business. That's why they were so successful and so successful, because everything was planned out. Manager Stig was a wonderful guy, and it really planned.
B. Claudia just sent a question. She said, "What song? What ABBA song was that?"
That was Waterloo.
Oh, Waterloo. Okay.
Yeah. B. Claudia's in Europe, by the way. Hi, B. Thanks for tuning in. So, how cool.
Yeah. So, that was the first song. And then it went, and virtually it was like almost a single every couple of months in those days. And, one after the other. And they did it.
Right. When you talk about a group like ABBA, though, we're talking about, this is something that is a phenomenon to me, is staying power. You have a lot of flash in the pan performances, especially nowadays more than ever. There seems to be a gazillion people out there. ABBA has really transcended decades. And to this day, kids of my daughter's generation, the millennials, everyone knows not only who ABBA is, but they listen to their music.
Yeah, like Dancing Queen.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we look at the tours when tours were happening. It's the older acts that still stay in there, whether it's James Taylor, whoever it is. They still drag them in because it's a depth of the music they have. I mean, I always think of the songs today, how many are going to be singing in 10 years, in 2050?
Right.
I mean, in England, we used to have a saying that the hit song was the one that the milkman was whistling when he delivered the milk in the morning.
The milkman. Oh my goodness, the milkman. So, John, you and I want to get back to this, but I'm curious about where you grew up. You grew up in the UK, yes?
Yes, I grew up in the Midlands and then moved into London.
Oh, Midlands, So
it's so which where so many bands came from there, from all around Coventry, the Moody Blues. And people
I don't know any of
this. I didn't know this.
So why did so many bands come from the Midlands?
It's a terrible thing to say, like Liverpool, they're dark, forbidding places, a lot of these places. And you've got nothing to do. So you go into in those days, you'd form a band. Even I had a band. And, it was the worst band in the world because I can't play anything, but I pretended well.
But you didn't let it stop you.
But you love the music. You love music. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's really a part of it. I live vicariously through the artist because I can play the piano with one hand. I can play the guitar incredibly badly. So, it's lovely watching real people do it.
Yeah, and to see that whole creative process, like starting with an idea and maybe a little melody, and then you add the guitar, and then you add the drums, and then you add just that whole layering.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why, people still go through this beat stage, where you buy a beat and then put a song to it, and it's fine and it works sometimes, but I still like the original thing where writers carry books around, and when they hear a great line, they write it down for later.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting from doing this show and having so many great music people on. I didn't know why. I was working on the gym the other day, and I put Stairway to Heaven on my music, right? And then you start scrolling through. There was a whole interview with Jimmy Page about how Stairway to Heaven was written. And I'm bringing this up because of what you said. It was actually layers and like one sentence at a time that somebody would throw out. It was an interview with the BBC. I found it so fascinating because when you listen to the song, it really is about all these different levels and all these different layers.
Well, what do you think the amazing thing is, like Sgt. Pepper?
Yes.
That album was done in 8-track. I mean, it was like today, as many tracks as you want. But that was really genius what George did with that. It was amazing. That's really layering. So I think that comes to the root of it all, though, is that the business is really a business.
Yeah,
and I think that's the start. A lot of kids come along today, and why they one hit, they don't plan it out. They don't plan a future for it. If that didn't work, change direction, 180 degrees, and then try something else.
Yeah.
Instead of having a planned move with it all.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that was one question that I had for you was the evolution of the entertainment industry. And again, the internet. And now, I mean, it used to be that you had to save up your money to go into a studio to record on their.
It's expensive.
It was very expensive. Now you can do it on a MacBook Pro.
Yeah, absolutely.
A CD quality in your living room during the pandemic. But the problem is that the quality, and the depth, it just doesn't seem to be there as much now as it was before.
Well, a lot of writers and artists, they actually do it on their laptop or whatever, and they build it and you have the general idea. Then they take it to a studio. Because a lot of it also is in the mastering. I mean, when you finished it all, there's engineers out there and that's when I was talking about credits as well. That are incredible mastering engineers. Means they take your finished product and they just tweak it and touch it. I mean, it's incredible. They take a little note and they're geniuses.
Yeah.
And that's almost a dying art now, because it's
right. So like masters on a music album is kind of like an editor in a movie.
Film. Yeah, in a film, I would think.
Yeah, putting the final touch to it.
They
it's like changing the color variation or something right at the end. And that's what I said. It's nice on the CDs, albums now.
Right.
You read it all and see those guys that are all involved with it.
Right, and give them the credit that's due. So I think it's safe to say you were when you in your younger years largely influenced by coming out of this part of England called the Midlands, and influenced by what you saw there. Now, neither of your parents was or musical or any family influence there.
Well, my father was a research engineer, which is like, and my mother was a drama teacher, so I guess I got the love of theater from her originally. But no, it was just something, you know. I grew up with the theater and everything else, and then it was just a natural move to me. Wow. Again, you know, since I'm not creative in the least, that was the whole thing. And I got lucky working with a lot of really great creative people.
Yeah. Now, because you've had a lot of collaborations in business too, like starting with Jimmy Webb. The two of you started Canopy. Is that correct?
That's right. It was Canopy when it started. With his dad was involved, and then it grew and grew. And then,
did you know about publishing at that time, or was that it was kind of a growing field at that time?
No, absolutely. Yeah, it was. No, I hadn't got a clue about anything. We just became friends, opened a company, and I had to learn pretty fast.
Wow.
It helped that he was getting all the hits because I was getting carried along with it. Back then, it was, my God, that was years ago, but it was a very small industry. And that's why I also know a lot of people, because you knew all the names that are still the big old names today. You knew them all.
Right, because the whole industry kind of had to be funneled through the publishing.
Yeah, and there weren't no one was in the industry really. It's just if you got a hit and you built in. I mean, they couldn't get signed originally, you know. And actually, one of my close friends was Dick Rowe, who's the first guy to turn them down. Which, you know, and I heard those tapes. He was quite right. But then, you know, then they had an idea. Epstein had an idea and put them on live somewhere and invited people to see them, and they were signed. Now, the great side of that story was that they all felt sorry for Dick, because everyone was saying this is the idiot that turned them down. And he was really a great music guy. And he got a call one day. I'm trying to think who it was. I think it was George Harrison called him and said, Dick, there's a great act in the Midlands. You've got to go and see them because you'll sign them. Dick signed them without seeing them. It was the Rolling Stones.
Oh my God!
Oh God, that's a great story. That's a good instinct, though. That's a really good instinct.
Yeah, but people did things like that. You know, it's like and today, I still think that if you say to people, "I know nothing," they'll usually help you out. But some come in knowing everything. And it's like, okay, fine. You know, you don't want to know. And it's kind of interesting to see that still going on.
Now, can you take a couple minutes and try to describe to me, like I'm in the first grade, exactly what music publishing is? Like, what's the advantage of that?
I'm in the first grade with Tim.
Okay, good.
Well, it's really simple.
No.
It's really, really simple, but people make it look really, really difficult. And the amazing thing is that so many young bands, when I've been out on the road and talked to them, don't know that they're missing a lot of their money by not knowing about it.
Right.
So it's basically, if a song, it's registering the song all over the world. And in America, there's 3 or 4 societies do it. The rest of the world is just one in every country. So you have to register the song, so that way, when you earn money, they know where to find you. Publishing is really, you earn from mechanicals, and it's still called that today, which is actually the record itself. Every record sold. So imagine if you're an artist, you're performing records all the time. So you earn out of that record, and that's it. You earn nothing else. So the other side is performance. Every time that record played, now you're going to earn off the record. So you've got the two of those, right? So the publisher already is one ahead of the artist. Then the sync. And sync is the placing music in films and in commercials and things like that.
Right.
And is that licensing then?
Correct. That's when
that was good, right? Yeah.
Everything else, or putting it into a movie, or anywhere that music's used. And of course, the fun thing is music's used everywhere. If you play in a local coffee bar, they've got the ASCAP or BMI sign on the door, which means they paid a license to allow music to be played there. So if you're an artist, you can go onto BMI Live or whatever at night and say, I played these songs. And it's pennies, but it's a penny business, but it grows. And then the final right is called brand rights, which your writer really needs to know, but that's when it's on stage. So if you've got a stage music, that's when that right comes in. And
like Jimmy Buffett's Escape from Margaritaville. They
use or Carole King, all that. That's
exactly.
Those.
So that's nice.
You know a lot, Tim.
Well, I'm trying to
learn. And the basic way that it's structured is if $100 comes in, $50 goes to the publisher, $50 to the writer. And why you need a publisher is that the publisher is the one that makes sure things are registered for you. And if money's in Australia, you assume that the society has actually registered it there, but it may take a year lag or whatever. So marketing your songs all across the world. Like the other year, we had a song with Coke out of England. So it's pushing your songs everywhere you can. Where a lot of young acts mess up is they register their song as a writer, but they don't register it as the publisher. So for every $100, they're losing $50.
Right. Now, see, like myself, I have a couple of songs out and CDs. I've spent about $2,500, I think, on one of the songs total, and I've made back maybe about $38.
I think Tim's doing fine, considering.
but it's better than a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
But that's what I mean. It used to be that people, they would go to a record store, and I miss that so much. Going and flipping through all the albums, and then it turned into CDs. Those are gone. There, so it was kept track. There was a very specific profit of the records.
Right
now, everything is online, and it's download and digital, and it's just spread around freely.
Which brings me to YouTube and what happens on there, because that's very much now, right? And there was a show that some people I know are putting together coming up, and they're very specific about getting the rights to perform songs from ASCAP if they're going to put it on YouTube. Can you talk a little bit about the YouTube process and how it relates to all of it? Because that's something all of us are dealing with.
Well, it's funny. I'm dealing with a company now that have been caught by putting a lot of songs on there, because the license itself is really gray area. And it's funny. It's funny you should mention it. We've been talking to 2 or 3 different attorneys now to get a specific reading on that agreement. And really, it's what I thought at the beginning. If you own it, go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
but if you don't own it, it's such a gray area of the actual usage of the song and everything else. And even if you do own it, sometimes they'll take it down because it's been registered incorrectly, and then it's held to put back. I mean, I've known a couple of artists that had, so much following on the internet.
Right.
And it was taken down. You have to start from scratch again. You go from 1 million to zip, and then have to start all over again.
But that doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like the performer then has a leg to stand on. I mean, YouTube has become the all-powerful.
Well, you do have this process you have to go through and say, you're wrong, this is it, which takes a long time.
Yeah.
And like I say, the thing that really hurts artists and performers is that they may have 1 million people at that point. When it comes down, they start from 1 again. And you can never get that back. It's very tough. I mean, the best lawyer comment that I got on a read was, just don't do it.
Just don't do it. So how does
that's
TikTok
right lawyers.
that?
Sorry?
Now, if like TikTok, how does it work?
Yeah, because they use a lot of published music.
Yeah, they use published music on TikTok. Why is it okay on TikTok, but YouTube is pulling things left and right?
It's because of licenses. People's paid so much for a license, and it's all still being worked out, as you probably see. Rates here and there, and it's very tough to stop. I mean, they've got spiders going through this thing all the time, trying to find out the different songs.
Yeah, that's what I mean with the internet. It's just like open-ended practically.
It's open-ended.
People have had, with their new songs, they've had big hits because they do that few seconds on TikTok and then create a song from it.
Yeah.
But I know someone that did that had 500,000 views. And then the next one, she had 29. So it's like,
wow, that's disappointing.
My
We
God.
have a lot of comments. I'm curious what people
yeah.
are saying. John, they're on fire for you today.
Well, I think the main thing that people have got to learn is that you've got to work at it.
Okay.
Right.
You have to work at it. Hannah Q is asking, I thought YouTube took the royalties and paid the music company or artist.
That they took the royalty. Yeah, well, but it's the user that's supposed to pay the royalty.
The user is supposed to pay the royalty.
I put the song on there. The royalty is supposed to come to me through YouTube. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if I use a song that isn't mine, I'm supposed to have got a license to be able to put that song on there.
Yeah, get permission.
And if I don't have a license, that's when they take it down. And then I said, that's the other problem. Even if I do have a license, they can still take it down if the papers aren't correct. And then you have to prove that, yes, I did have a license, and yes, it's allowed. I mean, I actually had one on that show I did last year, and it was actually the artist that had written the song and put it there, and we had a thing. They tried to take it down.
Oh my God!
Yeah. It's a real dangerous area until someone works out exactly how it all is.
So it's still in an evolutionary process, right?
Well, they're all fighting over how much to pay and how much not to pay. Let's say no matter how much they make, they're trying to push it down. Some are being better than others and paying more. But it's all going to level out. It's just a mess right now.
We just got to all hang out long enough. I like what Tim said. You went to the record store, you bought the record.
I love that.
No muss, no fuss, and it was
part of that money goes to the artist, part goes to the publisher.
Well, that's why I think the best thing I got from a copyright lawyer about YouTube is just unless you own it, don't put it up there.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty heavy fines as well.
Yeah. And then BMI and ASCAP are the ones that kind of monitor all of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, they collect your performance earnings. Yeah. And then you've got Harry Fox that collects your mechanical earnings, which is your streaming and the actual record sales still. And you see, that's where a lot of record companies are getting hit as well, because, of course, while the bands are on tour, they produce all these albums for them.
Right.
That for the last year, no one's been on tour, so the record labels are producing nothing, and that's how a lot of the younger bands survived as well, by actually selling the stuff.
They can't perform it.
Now, another thing that you just remind, or I just came up with this
Your wheels
question.
Are turning, Tim.
Is on tour, bands that are on tour with their published music that they're performing, every kid in that audience is taping it on their phone.
Right. Oh, good point.
And putting it out on YouTube
good
or putting it out on.
So
How in the world could this ever be?
Well, that's why they try and stop them at that point. And that's why you have those copyright laws, and why if people put them up, they're taken down, or they try to. If it's a company that does that, and some companies do it just by mistake, they'll do a performance somewhere, or it'll be a company meeting even, and it's put all over the internet, and they use someone's song, you can get fined a lot of money for doing that. So few people know about what they really have to do.
Right.
To use the song.
I'm sorry, but this is just it's a mess. It's a mess. And the more we talk about it, the more convoluted it becomes. And what end in sight? You just brought up the fact you go to a concert, everybody's taping everything.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe they're not all putting it up on YouTube, but you know what, with the internet, they can put it up.
They put it up on Facebook, on Instagram.
So people have done that for years, though. I mean, many years ago, we had a very big, was performing, and there was a guy at the back acting really strangely, and he was leaning against the wall with his arms like that behind him. And we sent a guy to check him out, and he was recording. He had a mic in each elbow.
Like that?
It was an incredible album. It was stereo, of course. And it was obviously we threw him out, but it was like they've been doing it back then. They've been doing it for years.
Wow, there's always somebody trying to figure out a shortcut or
a way to rip somebody off, right?
Exactly.
A way to rip someone off.
They tried to combat that a few years ago, and someone came up with a clever idea that before you went in, you bought a drive, a little thumb drive.
Oh yeah.
They recorded the concert, and as you walked out, you picked up the drive from the concert, which was quite a clever idea. So it was the actual show they'd seen.
Oh, that's very cool.
That petered out eventually, but I thought it was quite a clever idea that they
exactly
recording it if you can buy the real thing in great quality.
Yeah, really. I really like the elbows myself. I think
now you mentioned the group. Yes. Is there any other story about them that, like
the fun one is that yes, back then we're all on sort of macrobiotic diets and vegan, except for Rick Wakeman, who is still my friend to this very day. And it was funny. One show we were doing in Los Angeles at the Forum there, it was packed and everything, but we wanted to go out. So we borrowed his car and we drove to a bar and had a steak and a beer there. And the funny thing is we're sitting there and there's Rick with his hair down here. And people in loud voices were saying, look at him. Who the hell does he think he is? He's trying to look like Rick Wakeman. He doesn't look like him at all. And we were laughing. The show, which was great. He said it wasn't me out there because all these guys were obviously going to the show and poking fun at him.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Rick Wakeman,
great.
imposter. You know what I want to hear about? You did the first concert in India. That had to be like, could you tell?
India, yeah.
That was probably like the biggest fun I had in my life. It was, we had this call again years ago, Mrs. Gand, it was unrest in India. She wanted to do something for the kids. So luckily I was the one that was chosen to do a show there, but it's a tour of India. So we did Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Madras, all the way around. So I spent a year there. The thing is, they had no stadiums. There was never been an act that had ever done a tour.
How did you do this?
Well, we had to show them how to do the staging. And it was funny saying, and the way, how do you tell them how much weight that 20 tons of equipment is going to be with the wings? So it's like 4 elephants must stand here. 1 elephant. That's how they understood the loading. And
oh my God.
And we shipped all the equipment in. And one of the funny stories is that they're incredible people. I mean, really cool people.
I agree.
And we started at India Gate Lawn, which is like the Mrs. Gandhi's front garden almost.
Wow.
And the little engineer who was the city engineer said, you don't need anything, because I brought in big generators from Germany. And he said, I can do it. So he said, fine. So the concert started. And we could see bits of Delhi going black. And at the final point, he was so sweet. The lines were actually glowing red. I'd never seen that before. So we said, you've done a wonderful job. Now we're putting the generators.
Now we need to use the generator. Who were some of the groups that were in the concert?
We only did one group because it was very specific. We had to have someone that wouldn't be rude, that had got an incredible reputation, that would get everyone dancing and happy and cause no problem. And we went round and round in circles. In the end, we found a group you may have heard of called Osabisa, an African band which wrote a big record. They had Sunshine Day and some wonderful songs.
All very upbeat and things that would make people happy.
Osabisa means crisscross rhythms that explode with happiness. So it's that type of band. And they were very big in Europe, and of course they'd heard of them in India. And they were just amazing. I mean, one of the fun stories there is that when we were in Bombay, the crowds were trying to push the fences down, and we had like 30, 40,000 in there. And the police got out with their lathis, which is the big, and started beating them. And I said, to the chief of police, you're going to have a big problem because you're going to have a major riot. And he said, what should you do? I said, let them in because they're going to dance. They're just fun. They're not being.
They just want to have fun.
Right.
Yeah, so I got in the middle of the stage and I just said, come on. And they all ran in and danced. It was the happiest thing. And said to me, now you've got to get them out of here. And sort of what he didn't know is they'd learnt one of the most religious Hindi songs called Raghupati. And for the last song, they just did that a cappella. And the crowd all went quiet and they walked out. So it was fun, but it was overall, it was an incredible experience.
Totally positive, really great experience.
And so you do like events. You do big events and organize it. There's so many variables to something like that.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I never intended to go out and do that. I still think of myself as a music publisher, you know, and, you know, a manager to a few people. I mean, I only manage a couple of people now.
Wow.
Everything you keep saying you never intended to do, and not only have you done it, you've done it on the highest level.
They're remarkable accomplishments.
Exactly. Really impressive.
Well, even that show I did last December, I mean, you know, I was called, and it was a lot of fun doing it.
Soho Johnny's show.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about that.
It was on that. I Am No Joke was the name of the show, and it was a fundraiser for people that had been impacted by COVID-19, who had either lost somebody or had been incapacitated by it, as well as other things.
Yeah, we did it through the 3 charities. I like to do it so they're different levels. So we did.
I love that.
The Prostate Foundation, which is gigantic, which is Mike Milligan's. Then we did I'm No Joke, which was bullying, anti-bullying. And, you know, that involved a few charities that I've been involved with. And then we did a little local one. We just did one that was for Wheels on Wheels for old COVID.
Nice.
So it was nice, but you know.
Now that was produced in your MD 25, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I could talk with John through that, and you know, and who would know that we'd be top 10 of the stream shows of the year, which is like ridiculous.
Well, there were so many great people on that show. You had Jane Lynch. Ozzy Osbourne,
there was Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne, and
everyone came through.
Ozzy and Sharon, like we're friends.
Yes.
Well, you know, that's for the anti-bullying. It's amazing how many people the anti-bullying thing has, you know, affected. It's more and more people that you never realize that are out.
Yeah, we had Andrew Cole on the show, and he talked about that at length, of course.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. That's his whole thing. I mean,
but I was so grateful to be a part of that. That was an amazing evening. Now, speaking of charities, tell us about the one in New Jersey.
This is one we're going to be doing something through. It's a children's camp in New Jersey. Been there years and years. And the wonderful thing about it is that it's for blind children and disabled children.
Incredible.
And they have no money whatsoever.
Oh,
and someone just mentioned it to me. So one of the acts, which actually we've got on one of Johnny's labels called Anime's X, is it's a really funny act because it's really major metal performers. And they do kids songs, but like metal. But anyway, they're going to adopt them as well.
Oh,
so do a show for them, but they're going to go out there and perform for them, and then everything they do, they're giving a percentage to the charity to keep them going.
How cool!
That's wonderful. Yeah. I love that.
It's just amazing to me, though, that a wonderful charity like that, you know, couldn't have any money. I mean, you know, what people are doing.
But here's the thing, John, and we talk about this all the time: celebrity entertainers can raise awareness, and that's what the awareness is. There's so many charities out there, small charities that desperately need money, and somebody like yourself, look at what you've done. You know, you're shining a light on them and making people aware of them, and probably from this there'll be donors that, you know, give to support it after that, which is really incredible to be able to do that.
I hope so. Well, and everyone I'm involved with, I like them to choose a charity and get involved, because, you know, everyone that's, you know, you get to a certain level. I mean, they're thrilled to be doing what they're doing, that they really love. And so they're very, very lucky. And so they should be able to, you know, give back.
To help others. I agree. I just want to return to some of the questions that were sent in. Firstly, this one is for Wendy, because she had asked earlier about Erin Go Bra. What does that mean? Richard D'Ambrosia says that Erin Go Bra means Ireland forever.
Oh, Ireland forever. Happy St. Patty's Day. Thank you, Richard. Thank you for watching. There you go. We get all kinds of stuff here, John. What else do we have?
Our good friend Evan Lawrence. Yes. He's a fellow performer.
Amazing designer too.
He wants to know what is the rule as far as publishing and all of that, or for posting on YouTube. What is the rule for parody songs?
Parody songs, you theoretically have to go through to the original publisher and get permission.
Oh, really? Even though you
can't change the lyrics without permission.
Oh, wow. Oh, I didn't know that.
This is complicated.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same. I mean, years and years ago, I published Don McLean, and Ginger was it American Dry came on. I wanted to do it as My Canadian Dry.
Right, as opposed to My Mindless American Pie.
Yeah,
and he wouldn't allow it.
Oh, wow.
The song means too much to me. So the writer has to have that, that control of their song, because they did create it after all.
So like Crazy Al Yankovic has, for every song because he does nothing but parodies, he's had to get clearance through all the original artists for that.
Oh, yeah. But of course, being him, they love it because, again, being a publisher, having him perform your song that many times and selling that many copies of an album,
it's a good thing.
Almost like, you're lucky to be on with him.
Okay, got it.
Now, our dear friend Mindy Fradkin.
Yes. Hi, Mindy.
She says that is wonderful about this camp in New Jersey. Yeah. And then B. Claudia wants to know, what is the name of the charity?
It's called Camp Marcella.
Camp Marcella.
And where in New Jersey is it, John?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Well, I do. It's just over the bridge into the.
Well, that we can find. We'll find that out. That's fine.
Yeah, Camp Marcella.
Google it. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
You'll find it right there. And we're going to do some press announcements in the next couple of weeks about it.
Great, and you'll keep all of us in the loop.
Absolutely, because I would be very interested in helping out with something like that as well.
Well, that would be terrific. Well, I'll make sure I let you guys know as well.
Absolutely. Well, I wish I could sit here and find out, like,
I know
all different. I've got pages that we didn't get to, so we're going to have you come back on our show another time for part 2 of John Velasco.
It's been a lot of fun.
It's been really great having you. Thank you. And, it's been great. Thank you for answering everybody's questions. And thank you for all you've done, all your contributions over the past several decades with again, you even mentioned going back to, like, I think, Jimmy Webb with like Up and Away.
You got to remember, I didn't do it. I was just there and got lucky.
But you were involved with that process,
like amazing
and learning from that. That was huge. Yeah. What a huge way to start out. The amount of knowledge you would have had to have accumulated just from being around that and watching and learning and I don't know that you really realize just how much you have contributed to American entertainment over the past several decades. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you for that. And Mindy Fradkin said she'd like to be involved in the fundraiser for the camp as well.
Yeah, so maybe we can do something together.
This is why we do this show. We like bringing people together. It's all good. It's all positive. And we loved what you had to share with us today,
Absolutely.
John. Thank you so much.
Now, also, I just want to say that Wendy and I are streaming live from Pangea in the East Village. Great food. They're going to be reopened. They're open for what, 25% now? Now it's 35%.
We are going to 50% in New York, I believe, next week.
Down below is a GoFundMe, because there's
their GoFundMe, right?
A local restaurant that has held cabaret shows, and they're very supportive of the arts. Completely. And so that's why we love Pangea, and we want to try to help them out as well. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
But
John, you have to come down here and eat sometime too.
Absolutely.
And they have wonderful shows here as well. So
that'd be fun. I've had my shot, so I'm all set to go.
All right. Good. Good. Isn't it wonderful just kind of seeing the light at the end of this tunnel?
Oh,
this has been a dark one.
Well, I just want to mention as well, I got a new act she's called April Rose Gabrielle, who's amazing, and she's really a hard worker. So watch out for her, because she's going to be out very short.
And her name is April Rose Gabrielle?
Gabrielle, yeah. April Rose.
Okay.
Yeah, she's going to be very big.
Wonderful.
Thank you for sharing that with us today.
I have a couple other things that I'll talk to you about later that something to consider. Okay. for her. All right. Well, John, thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
This was so wonderful and inspiring, and just so interesting. I love chatting with you. It was absolutely wonderful having you here.
My pleasure. It's been a lot of fun.
And thank you to our audience for joining us today.
Yay.
We'll see you all next week, Wednesday at 2:00.
We love you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.